After Donald Trump released his budget, where he will cut welfare in Section 8 by $6 billion, I notice a lot of black men are celebrating these cuts on welfare in Section 8. This means a lot of these welfare queens will not be allowed to just mooch off to the government and freeload off the government. Now, a lot of black women are wondering, why are so many black men celebrating the cuts of these entitlement programs? Because a lot of black men feel that these programs are the reason why black men are not in the household. They're the reason why black men don't have rights to their own children. Section 8 has replaced black fathers over the last 30 years. These government programs have replaced black fathers. And if you look back in history, going back to the 1960s, LBJ created these programs to take black fathers out of the household. They created these government programs to remove black fathers from the household. And this is when the single mother epidemic began. Before the 1960s, 90% of black households had two-parent households. 90% of black kids were raised in a two-parent household. It wasn't until LBJ and these welfare programs in the 1960s that the single mother epidemic started. And these programs forced black fathers out of the household. By taking away these programs, it's going to give black fathers more rights to their children. A lot of these welfare kings won't just be able to lay on their ass and have baby after baby and mooch off the government. To all the welfare queens, your free ride is over. Your free ride is over. Now, not all welfare queens are black. There's plenty of welfare queens that are white. There's plenty of welfare queens that are Latino. This has nothing to do with race. But it has affected the black community more than any other community. Because the black community has the highest rate of single mother households. And this is why a lot of black men are sick and tired of these government programs. And a lot of black women will use these government programs to keep fathers away from their kids. They will use these programs to force them to pay child support, to force them to not be allowed to see their kids. And I think this is the reason why so many black men have gotten sick and tired of these government programs. Now, not every person that gets welfare is a welfare queen. There's some people that get welfare in Section 8 and use it for the right reasons. These programs are supposed to be a safety net. They're supposed to be a short-term solution for people who lose their jobs and they need a short-term solution to help them feed their families and keep a roof over their head. But the problem is there's so many people that abuse the system. There's so many people that take advantage of the system and abuse the system. You got people that have been living on Section 8 and HUD for 10 years, for 20 years. Nobody should be living on Section 8 and HUD for 10 and 20 years. The only people that should be allowed to live on Section 8 and HUD for that long are people who are disabled. Are people who are senior citizens. If you're a disabled person, if you're a senior citizen, you should be allowed to live rent-free for the rest of your life. But if you're a perfectly healthy, able-bodied person, there's no way in the hell you should be allowed to lay on your ass and live rent-free for 10, 20 years. That's ridiculous. And this is why these programs needed to be reformed. These programs needed to be reformed so people will stop abusing the system. And by abusing the system, you're keeping yourself locked in the projects for the rest of your life. This is what a lot of people don't realize. You got people who've been living on it. There's some people that look at Section 8 and welfare like it's their career. You got people passing this down from generation to generation to generation, where their grandmother was on Section 8 and welfare, their mother was on Section 8 and welfare, and then they pass it on to their daughters. And then their daughters pass it on to their daughters. So you have a generational cycle of poverty, a generational cycle of ignorance. And I think this needs to stop. Welfare should be for people who really need the help. Section 8 should be for people who really need the help. There should be a 2-year limit on how long you're allowed to live on Section 8. There should be a 2-year limit on how long you're allowed to live on HUD. These are programs that are supposed to be short-term. A short-term solution to get you on your feet. Nobody should be living. The only people that should be living on Section 8 and HUD for more than 2 years are people who are disabled. If you're not disabled, you should have 2 years to get a job, get your money saved up, and move into a house or an apartment where you're paying your own rent and your own bills. Because there's been so many people abusing the system, they had to do something to change it around. Now, what's also going to happen starting next year is that everybody that's getting welfare, you have to be working in order to get welfare. You have to either be working or looking for a job and showing that you're looking for a job in order to get welfare. There's not going to be any more of this. You're just laying on your ass month after month and getting welfare, getting $300 a month welfare. That's ridiculous. So I think these changes need to be made. The last thing I want to say is there's a lot of working class black women who have never gotten welfare. And they're completely against welfare queens. They're completely against these women who lay on their ass and have baby after baby and live off the government. Working class women hate welfare queens. Working class women hate hood rats. And there's plenty of videos on YouTube of working class black women speaking out against these hood rats and speaking out against these welfare queens. So a lot of people push this stereotype that every black woman is a welfare queen living off the government. That's not true. There is plenty of working class black women who go to work every day, who work 40-hour work weeks, who are just as sick and tired of these welfare queens wasting taxpayers' money while they lay on their ass and live off the government. There's a woman by the name of Carmen Kaboom. This is one of my favorite YouTubers. She did a video on this topic, and she talked about how she's glad that they're cutting these government programs and these welfare queens won't be able to get away with freeloading off the system anymore. And she got a lot of hatred from a lot of these feminists on YouTube. One of the things I always liked about Carmen Kaboom is that she's funny, she has a sense of humor, but she also speaks a lot of truth. She speaks a lot of truth in her videos. So check out Carmen Kaboom's video. She makes a lot of good, valid points. Subscribe to her channel. A lot of people have different opinions about this topic. Leave a comment, rate, and subscribe.